It was supposed to be one of those jaw-dropping, history-making pop culture moments. Beyoncé, radiant as ever, stepping onto the stage at the 2011 MTV VMAs, glowing like a goddess. She unbuttoned that glittering jacket, placed her hands gently on her belly, and smiled as if she was holding the world's biggest secret. The crowd went wild. Jay-Z, beaming with pride, looked like he had just won the lottery of life. Headlines erupted overnight. This was the royal baby of music, and the internet couldn't stop buzzing. But then, the story took a turn. Weeks later, an Australian talk show aired a seemingly harmless clip. Grainy, nothing flashy. Yet, in one strange second, the world froze. Beyoncé sat down, and her baby bump appeared to fold. Not shift, not adjust, fold. It was bizarre, unsettling. A camera trick? Just fabric playing games with the light? Maybe. But that odd clip didn't die. Oh no, it lived in the shadows of the internet, passed around in conspiracy corners, dissected in Reddit threads, forgotten by the mainstream but never gone, and then, years later, it roared back to life. Enter Ramir Sadwait, a name the world barely knew until he introduced himself with a bang, Jay-Z's real son. Out of nowhere, he stepped into the spotlight not just with the shocking claim of being abandoned, but with an even more scandalous twist, that Blue Ivy, the Carters' beloved daughter, might not even be Beyoncé's biological child. Suddenly, that awkward old folding bump clip wasn't just internet junk food anymore. It became Exhibit A, a potential clue to a story far darker and more complicated than anyone dared whisper out loud. And just when you thought it couldn't get any wilder, another bombshell dropped. A woman claiming to be a former nanny for the Carters came forward. Her story? She cared for Blue Ivy as a newborn, but never, not once, saw Beyoncé pregnant. Not in the early months, not even in the final days when a baby bump is impossible to hide. Now let's pause here. Celebrities using surrogates isn't scandalous in itself. Plenty of couples do it, for health reasons, personal choice, or simply privacy. But what makes this feel different is the performance. The VMA reveal. The interviews where Beyoncé spoke of cravings and baby kicks. The perfectly staged paparazzi shots. If surrogacy was the truth, then why the elaborate theater? And if it wasn't, why are NDAs circling and people suddenly stepping forward with stories that don't align? And Ramir, he isn't backing down. He's not just calling himself the hidden son. He's suggesting an orchestrated cover-up, one that rewrote the Carter family narrative from the very beginning. It's not about money, he says. It's about truth. But truth in this world, it's slippery, and his motives are questioned just as much as his words. Is he a bitter outsider, a man desperate for attention, or is he the one voice daring to poke holes in the iron fortress of music's most guarded empire? Because let's face it, Beyoncé and Jay-Z aren't just stars, they're strategists. Every photograph, every interview, every carefully released snippet of family life is curated with military precision. That's why when cracks appear, the world zooms in with a magnifying glass. That old folding bump clip resurfaces on Twitter. Blue Ivy's baby pictures are dissected like crime scene evidence. And suddenly, the Carter dynasty doesn't look flawless anymore. It looks like a mystery novel with missing chapters, and the public is desperate to fill in the blanks. And the timing? Oh, it couldn't be worse. The Carter brand was already under siege. Legal dramas, business rifts, whispers of allies turned enemies. Then, like a grenade, Ramir's story explodes online. Some dismiss him as desperate. Others warn he's playing with fire, daring to challenge entertainment's most powerful couple. But one thing was undeniable. He didn't sound scared. His voice carried the frustration of someone ignored too long, with nothing left to lose. And then came the twist nobody expected. A resurfaced quote from an insider, allegedly someone close to the Carters during those early parenting years. Their story? Entire sections of the Carter home sealed off, guarded, staff forbidden to enter. Deliveries made through secret entrances. Beyoncé disappearing for hours only to return in full glam, but never once looking pregnant. To some, that sounded like typical celebrity privacy. But stacked against the growing storm of inconsistencies, it didn't look like privacy anymore. It looked like choreography, a carefully staged illusion. Hollywood has a word for it: image architecture. Every detail, every public moment is a brick in the fortress of your persona. And Beyoncé's fortress? It was built like the Louvre, impenetrable, flawless, no cracks allowed. But the problem with perfection? People will dig until they find a flaw. And the center of it all? Blue Ivy. From day one, she wasn't just a child, she was a brand. Her name appeared in album credits. She strutted onto award show stages. She fronted luxury campaigns. Blue wasn't just Beyoncé and Jay-Z's daughter, she was their legacy, their symbol of generational greatness. To suggest that her very existence might be part of a hidden arrangement, that isn't just controversial, that's nuclear. And just when everyone thought the drama couldn't possibly spiral any further, along came the whispers of something even more outrageous: the missing twins theory. Now, this wasn't the kind of gossip you'd expect to stumble across in a random TikTok comment section. Oh no, this was louder, bigger, making its way onto mainstream platforms. The claim that Jay-Z fathered another set of twins years before the fame, before Beyoncé, before the empire we know today. According to the theory, these children weren't just brushed aside or forgotten. They were erased, their existence scrubbed from the narrative with military precision. NDAs tighter than steel doors, secret trust quietly funneled to keep the mothers silent, entire lives buried beneath layers of carefully placed distractions. Insane, right? And yet, when you remember how airtight the Carters keep their empire, it suddenly doesn't sound so impossible. This is a family with no accidental leaks, no sloppy scandals. If there were other children, could they be hidden in plain sight, their identities deleted like an unused scene from a movie? And then came the lyrical digging. Jay-Z's own music, the catalog we've all worshipped, suddenly became suspect. Fans began tearing apart his verses like courtroom lawyers picking through evidence. Lines that once sounded poetic, shadows I can't name, doors I never open, families I protect with silence, took on chilling new meaning. Were they metaphors? Or were they confessions he thought we'd never decode? But through it all, Beyoncé and Jay-Z stayed silent. Not a word, no denial, no clarifications, just silence. And in this kind of storm, silence isn't golden, it's suspicious. Because the more questions people ask, the louder that silence becomes, and the easier it is to believe they're hiding something. Let's be real, Beyoncé and Jay-Z built their empire on mystique, on the illusion of perfection, of untouchable harmony. But now it feels like the audience isn't watching their show anymore. They're inspecting the stage, pulling back the curtains, looking for trapdoors, and when everything you do is dissected, every smile, every gesture, every word, silence itself becomes a message. The public curiosity has mutated into a full-blown investigation. Old interviews are being slowed down, replayed, analyzed frame by frame. Fans who once praised Beyoncé's maternal glow during her pregnancy now say she looked guarded, evasive, almost rehearsed. Others point out how tightly controlled Blue Ivy's early childhood was. Rarely seen, always curated, never off script. Was that just privacy? Or was it red tape hiding something bigger? And then, the nanny. The alleged former nanny refuses to back off. Her story hasn't wavered. She's told it to multiple outlets, always the same chilling consistency. No hospital trips, no late pregnancy exhaustion, no belly kicks. Just a job caring for a baby that seemed to appear out of nowhere, inside a house where asking certain questions was forbidden. Her account didn't just add fuel, it gave the rumors a face, a voice, a sense of credibility that the Carters' lawyers and publicists couldn't simply sweep under the rug. But here's where it gets even messier. Tina Knowles, Beyoncé's mother, normally warm, protective, and endlessly supportive of her daughter. Yet when fans went back through old interviews of Tina talking about Blue, something strange stood out. She praised Blue's talents, her creativity, her charm. She gushed about her piano skills, her poetry, her star presence. But what did she never talk about? The birth, the pregnancy, the moment her granddaughter came into the world. For a grandmother, that's a noticeable omission, almost deliberate. And now, the whispers have turned into theories. Maybe Tina isn't just protecting Beyoncé. Maybe she was the architect of the silence all along. Because as this rabbit hole deepens, the more it feels like we're staring at a puzzle. A puzzle where every visible piece was designed to distract us from the missing ones. And right in the center of that puzzle is Blue Ivy, no longer just a celebrity child, but a symbol. If even a fraction of these claims are true, it means the world has been watching a carefully scripted reality for over a decade. Not just a faked pregnancy, but an entire rewrite of personal history. And some people are daring to say this isn't even about surrogacy or hidden kids. This is about power, about the terrifying ability to reshape truth itself, to bend it, sell it, repeat it until no one remembers what was real. And even when truth claws at the surface, it gets drowned in world tours, award show glamour, and billion-dollar branding. And that's the chilling part, because if Beyoncé and Jay-Z can control their narrative to this degree, if they can bury something so massive for so long, then how many other celebrity truths are nothing more than rehearsed illusions? And stuck in the middle of it all, unfairly, cruelly, is Blue Ivy herself. She didn't ask for this. She didn't cause it. But now every time she steps into public view, every smile, every gesture becomes a test, a clue. A piece of a puzzle millions are desperate to solve. It's cruel, it's invasive, but it's inevitable. Because when you build your brand on perfection, the moment people smell a lie, they tear everything down until they think they've found the truth, or something close enough to it. And now we're left with a question that won't die. If this story is even halfway true, how much of what we think we know about Beyoncé and Jay-Z is just a brilliantly produced myth? And if the world ever gets undeniable proof, real, solid proof, what happens then? Does the empire crumble? Or does it simply evolve into a stronger, smarter illusion? And here's the wildest part. This scandal isn't just about one family secret anymore. It's about the way the world sees Beyoncé. For years, she's been untouchable. Queen Bey, the perfectionist, the woman who never slips, never falters, never reveals too much. But now, that flawless image is being ripped apart piece by piece and replaced with questions nobody ever thought they'd dare ask. Because when you think about it, Beyoncé didn't just share her pregnancy with the world. She performed it. The glowing interviews, the choreographed belly rubs, the carefully staged photos, it was all theater. And if any part of that was staged on purpose, then we weren't watching a celebration of motherhood. We were watching a script. And the cruel irony? That performance made Blue Ivy more than just a child. It made her a commodity, a symbol, a storyline. She became part of the Carter brand before she could even speak her first words. And now, over a decade later, she's caught in the crossfire of a storm she never chose. People online are relentless. Every time Blue steps onto a stage or shows up at an award show, fans freeze frame her expressions like they're clues in a crime documentary. Is that Jay-Z's smile? Beyoncé's eyes? Does she really look like either of them? It's ruthless, invasive, and yet it's happening. Because when the illusion cracks, the public stops seeing a family. They start seeing evidence. And the former nanny's story? That's the gasoline on the fire. She keeps repeating it with eerie consistency. No pregnancy signs, no late-night cravings, no swollen feet, just a baby that arrived wrapped in secrecy, with entire staff members warned not to ask questions. That kind of consistency doesn't sound like clout chasing. It sounds like a memory burned into someone who lived it. And the more her voice spreads, the more credibility these rumors gain. Suddenly, what started as conspiracy corners on Reddit has turned into mainstream debates on podcasts, YouTube channels, and even news blogs. People aren't whispering anymore. They're asking out loud, was Blue Ivy's birth real? And that's not all. Beyoncé's mother, Tina Knowles, is now under the microscope too. Her interviews are being replayed, dissected, slowed down. The warmth is there, yes, but fans notice how she carefully avoids specifics. She praises Blue Ivy's brilliance, but dodges the timeline of her arrival. For a grandmother, that omission feels like silence screaming louder than words. The theory now? Tina isn't just protecting Beyoncé. She might have orchestrated the silence. She could be the one who helped build this impenetrable wall around the story, brick by brick, making sure nobody ever saw the cracks. And here's the thing. The deeper this gets, the scarier it becomes. Because if the Carters really did pull this off, if they managed to rewrite something as sacred and personal as childbirth, then what else have they rewritten? This isn't just about a pregnancy. It's about power. The power to manipulate reality itself, to curate, control, and sell a version of life so flawless that millions accept it without question. A performance so convincing that even when people doubt it, they're drowned out by glamour, money, and success. That's why this scandal feels nuclear. It's not just about Beyoncé and Jay-Z. It's about the illusion of celebrity itself. If their story can be this controlled, this protected, then maybe every celebrity truth we've swallowed is just another rehearsed act. And the real tragedy? Blue Ivy herself. She's growing up under the shadow of these questions, dissected before she's even had the chance to define her own identity. Every headline about her talent, every magazine cover about her style is now tainted with whispers about her origins. It's unfair. It's cruel. But that's the price of building an empire on a foundation of perfection. Because when people suspect a lie, they won't stop digging until they've torn the whole castle down. And that leads us to the question nobody can escape. What happens if proof ever surfaces? What if one day undeniable evidence leaks? A document, a medical record, a photo? What then? Will Beyoncé and Jay-Z's empire collapse in front of our eyes? Or will they, masters of reinvention, simply twist the narrative again, evolving into an even more untouchable illusion? Because let's be real, this isn't just gossip. This is a reckoning, a challenge to the idea that we can ever truly know the people we idolize. And at the center of it all is one little girl who never asked to be the symbol of a scandal bigger than herself. The Carters wanted to give the world a flawless fairy tale, but now that fairy tale is unraveling, and the ending is no longer in their control.